Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Greg Jones for Engine Builder. Today we are outside Dallas, Texas in Alvarado, and we're gonna be checking out engineered performance. We'll be talking with shop owner Mitchell Wilson. These guys do some awesome engine work, primarily on the Nissan platform, but they do a couple other import platforms as well. And again, these guys do some awesome work, A to Z. So let's go on in, check it out, and meet Mitchell. Come on.
No shortcuts, no substitutes, no compromises. Great racers and engine builders choose driven racing oil.
All right, guys, so we're inside Engineered Performance now, and I'm joined by shop owner Mitchell Wilson. Mitchell,
how you doing?
Pleasure to be here in person.
Absolutely.
You know,
Thanks
you and I, we've worked together over the last number of years.
So
number of features,
5-6 years, something like that, or more.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
You know, you guys do a ton of stuff on the import side, and specifically the Nissan stuff.
We do.
So we've written articles together over the years on that.
Yep.
Whole bunch of different things. So
absolutely.
I'm excited to check out the shop. I know this is a newer shop for you guys.
It is. We've been here just over 2 years. It'd be March of this year. It would be just over 2 years. So we're still working at it, but I think we've made some pretty good strides here in the last 2 years. So we're getting things done. So
no, it looks great. I'm excited to see it myself and show the folks a little bit. But before we walk around, tell everyone a little bit about your background. You know, what got you into engine building and why, you know, the Nissan platform?
Yeah, I mean, as a kid, when I was growing up, I mean, I was driving down to Florida with my parents on vacation, and a white 300ZX passed us, and I was just immediately just drawn to it, and I was like, what is that car? You know, like, what is that? And after spending some time looking online, finally at that time, I finally figured out what it was, and I just had to have one. So I think my junior year of high school, bought one. Learned how to drive stick shift on that car, learned how to work on that car, which was extremely difficult because that's not really the easiest car to start learning how to work on. Most people are like a Honda or a Chevrolet or something like that. And so I go off on the deep end, learn how to work on these V6s. Fast forward to moving out here after I lived in Jersey for a while, and worked for a shop over here in Fort Worth for about 2 years. And then I left there, worked for an aerospace company for 10 years as a machinist out there. And during that time, I was doing this on the side at my house, and then it slowly snowballed and rolled over to, you need to get a shop. Yes. One or two engines turned into 10, and it turned into 15, and it went on and on and on. So we got a new shop, started going there, and while I was working at the aerospace company, I met my business partner, and we sort of teamed up at that point, and it's just been exploding ever since. So we've been really, really blessed to work together and sort of push the envelope a little bit on the Nissan stuff. So we've always been sort of hot and heavy on the Nissan side of things, because my business partner, he's a 22 plus year veteran of Rare Morrison. He was doing all the block and crank work machine over there. And so much of what we do here is exactly what they pretty much do over there, because he was the one that was always doing it. So I've got good pedigree where we can start and build from that point. And things have done really, really well on that route. So we work on everything from your Nissan VGs, your VR38s, VR30s, VQ engines. Don't do many SR. We got some calls, but they just don't float around in here that much. But that's really primarily about it. We do some Ferrari and Lamborghini work. We just got doing some 25th anniversary Lamborghini Countach heads. And we've got a couple Ferrari engines in here right now that we're building. So
awesome.
It's doing pretty good.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll let you lead the way here. And I'll ask some questions as we walk through.
Well, basically, front of the shop, come in, we do our unloading, loading, just like typical. So we have our storage area for stuff like that. This is sort of still work in progress from us moving in, but we're getting there. Our parts storage area, if I need to grab bearings or seals or something, we've just got a little small alcove area for us to pull from. Main galley, go down the length of the shop. All our carts that we've got, every cart that you see is an engine build in progress right now. So what is that, 10 plus carts, plus we got some back over here. So we've got them ranging from VG30. This has got our new Billet twin inlet manifold for clients Build.
Nice. Yeah.
That's an RB25 project we're doing.
And this is stuff that you guys have
We
designed,
have developed,
right?
designed, and we work closely with Ariel at CPC over in Australia. He's the one that produces those for us.
Okay.
And we also work with Daniel Melling over at Kiwi CNC over in New Zealand. So those two guys are phenomenal to work with.
Nice.
But yeah, we've also got 2JZ. This is the Ferrari stuff that we've got in progress. VQ37, another VG. This is a VR30 that we're doing a lot of development work on. We've got new design rods and pistons. We're also developing a billet bed plate to go with this. So we're doing all the stuff that we typically would do with a VR38, and we're pushing it right into the VR30. So we're trying to do a little bit of that. Another RB26. We've got pretty lengthy L28 build. It's bored and stroked to a 3.1. It has a CPC billet intake manifold. Also has our custom CP piston that we've diamondized and two-stage top coated. So we've got that.
Nice.
And this is another VG.
Yeah, I like the color of these.
The blue, a lot of people like the blue.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So beyond that, we go a little further down. This is just a pallet rack. It's all our cores that we've got on hand. You can't see the blocks underneath there, but.
And then is this kind of representative of, you know, about how many jobs you guys will be doing at once, more or less?
Typically, yeah. As they sort of push down the line and move out, we just reload those racks back up with the next person's builds, and then we just keep pushing them along. So,
nice.
And all the blocks that are sitting in the bags right there, those are short blocks that are built, waiting for cylinder heads so we can go in the assembly room.
Yeah. Okay.
So we got some stuff queued.
Yeah.
It's sort of a little alcove. We do grinding, wire wheeling. We've got our bandsaw, rolling saw, crankshaft polishing. This is just a little nook area, and then we've got our tool sharpener, so we can sharpen all our own tooling in-house, our end mills, lathes, I mean everything we can sharpen here. And then ultrasonic cleaner, doing all our big heavy cleaning that we need to be able to do without.
Have you had that for a while, or?
It's going on 10 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Been happy with it?
Huge asset.
Yeah.
It's
they seem to work well.
Yeah, you know, we haven't had any problems with it. We were using their original solution to clean parts with, and it was working really well. And I thought, well, I've been using Simple Green for such a long time. I'm gonna go back to that, and then found out that that ain't the stuff to really be using. So we went back to the ultrasonic chemicals that they use, and it's definitely a much better cleaning chemical. So, but we use that every day. From any small parts that we're trying to work on, anything, it all gets processed through that first. Anything that's got big soil, a lot of dirt, we run through our parts washer over there. Then we'll actually run it through the sonic cleaner as well. So we're doing multiple steps in cleaning. And this is sort of the teardown area prep. We'll come through. Right now we're working on making a set of manifolds for a Nissan application. Yeah. So we've got that lined out there. We've taped up all our pistons and stuff that we've processed. So this is the ceramic anodizing that we offer. Yeah. And then we'll go back through and aluminum oxide the tops and the skirts, and then we'll apply the top coats on it like you saw with the blue pistons over there, and then we'll put those in the oven.
And I got to ask you a few things about this, because you guys have been doing the coating stuff for a while.
Almost 20 years now.
Yeah. And obviously these days it's a much bigger thing.
It is. It used to be the snake oil in the industry.
Right.
Yeah.
So can you just talk a little bit more about your process?
Yeah.
And, you know, how you guys go about it?
We typically, on all the engines that we build, we try to, at minimum, do a ceramic anodizing with a skirt coat and a top coat. And pistons come in, we get these ceramic anodizing processed, then we'll mask up the part completely, and then we'll process this through the sandblast cabinet with aluminum oxide. So you have to make the substrate porous, nothing sticks. So if you're getting pistons that are coated that aren't blasted prior to the coating, they will just absolutely just flake right off, to the point where we've had pistons come in from clients purchased them brand new, and they wanted us to put the anodizing on there. We have to blast the part first to get that off before we can send it to anodize. And even with the vapor hone, it just blows the coating right off. It doesn't even stick to it. So the prep of the piston and everything is very vital. Bearings, camshafts, everything. I mean, we've got some Subaru cams over here. Yeah, it's my employee Chris. So he took his Subaru cams and we blasted them and coated them. So then once they go into use, we'll burnish them up and they'll get really slick. I mean, you can feel how slick that is right there.
Yeah. Yeah, wow.
So we'll do that same coating on lifter buckets, camshafts, piston skirts, crankshaft journals. I mean, there's sort of endless about what you can put the coatings on, as long as you prep the part right.
Yeah.
But
we were talking earlier before we got on camera about the different colors. And, and that's just more or less a customer
It's an aesthetic, essentially. I mean, a lot of people like the contrast of the color. I mean, yeah, you're never going to see it in the engine, but while you're building it, if someone was to open the engine or you were to pull the engine down and do some preliminary checks to see how things are running, you do have a contrast there. So it does give you a complete depth of being able to look at some damage that you may not typically would see without it being coated. So there are some advantages of doing the coloring on there, but it's more just aesthetic. We could process those in clear, but for me to prove that that's done in clear, I'd have to have a raw aluminum something right next to it to show you, and that's kind of hard to do when they're all processed. So the colors definitely help.
And you were saying that the black and the clear coat coatings are kind of the easier ones to do, or?
Yeah, they're always easier because generally most people are always doing black or clear, or most other colors is not a requirement for a lot of people doing anodizing, but it does help if you gotta have a theme that he wants to carry out.
And is it just like mixing paint to get the colors that you want? Like how do you switch
there's a specific type of coloring dye that they apply with this. Okay. So this goes through a complete etch line process. And I think it's like a 20 tank system. So they go in and out, in and out, in and out. And when they get to the tank where they actually go to impart color, they will actually add a ceramic solution to the water mix. So it's floating in that water column. And since this is basically an electrolysis process, positive and negative, the molecules in this are excited. So they're sort of opening up. They're giving way for something to go in there. And when the ceramic solution hits this, it gets inside the material of the piston. Then they pull the charge. Now you've got ceramic locked in the piston.
Yeah.
So now you've created a very, very slick surface. It's much harder. It goes into the piston about 3 thousandths deep. And then it's durable enough that you can lightly etch the top of this, and I can apply an additional coating to it and it'll bond to it. So now you're getting sort of a double layer of protection on your parts.
Yeah.
Because this is very, has a lot of friction reduction properties to it, but when you add the dry film lubricant to the top of it, it also has a wicking effect to it. So it'll actually attract the oil and keep it on the skirt, which is what you want.
Right.
So that'll increase the lubricity factor of what you're working with. So
and before you put that down, this is a new piston, the Piston Top Design that you guys
well, this is one, I think this is a Manley piston for an FA20.
Okay.
This one is just their shelf kit. I do have some where we have what you're probably talking about, the new fuel bowl
that diamond pattern.
Yeah, I'll show you some of those that we've got. Okay. But this is for an FA20 that we're doing. I've got some for an LS, and this is for a Lamborghini that we're processing for one of our guys. So.
Very cool. Yeah, I love seeing the posts that you guys have about all the coatings.
And we've got, I mean, we do even processing wrist pins. We'll take all the wrist pins and load them up together, because you have to look at this as an easy way of processing this. So how would I hold these wrist pins and actually get everything blasted to make sure that I can get the coating all over it? Well, just take a piece of all thread, put you some nuts on it, and you can blast them all in one shot.
Yeah, nice.
So we do that for those, and then we'll also coat turbochargers. We'll coat the compressor housing with a thermal dispersant, so it'll actually shed excess heat off the compressor. And then we'll actually put a thermal barrier on the turbine housings. It's a two-part process. It's a little expensive. Yeah. But that'll retain heat in the turbine housing and keep your engine bay temps down a little bit.
Yeah, that's cool stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So from there, sort of wind over here, this is aisle way 2, I guess you should say. So we've got 2 valve grinders set up. We've got one that we grind all our valves with, and then the other one we do our valve tipping. So when we do solid lifter applications. So I'll have Chris come over and I'll sit there and check the lash setup on it, and I'll give him the valve, tell him how much to take off. He comes over, works the valve a little bit, and we go back and forth until the head's done, and then we get it on the machine behind you, the Quickway head machine. It's not used for cutting seats anymore. This is a glorified engine assembly, or a cylinder head assembly table. Because we can float the table all around and rotate it how we need it. Yeah. So it's just it's an old piece, but it serves its function. Nice. So working your way down here, we've got our boring bar. We've got a standard and a small boring bar head for this, so we can do large size bores and smaller junior stuff that we can do. I've got to put this Ferrari 308 that has a whole bunch of weld repair in there, so we can actually put all the
and do you mind if we show the folks that?
Absolutely.
It's pretty cool. You guys had to do a decent amount of welding on that.
It's a ton of welding. This side had the worst of it, and I'll show you on this side where it looks like it's how it's supposed to be. You have these good sharp angles here to actually seat the register for the liner that goes in there. Yeah. And it had some of it degradation here because this block had a ton of water sitting for a long time and it just corroded really bad. And then you get on this side.
Yeah, it wasn't even like engine damage from it.
No,
it's from
just
water
corroding it. Corroding it. Yep, for years and years and years. So we have a lot of work to do on this to get this back up to speed, because this is a numbers matching to another 308 that the client wants to keep.
Yeah.
And instead of flying Ferrari out and spending about $15,000 for them to certify a different block to go with the car,
Right.
he wants to do the whole process here. So
Yeah.
happy to help him, just takes time.
Right.
So we're one of the deal.
Driven Racing Oil's GP1 Nitro 70. Trusted by top engine builders, winning racers, and devoted horsepower enthusiasts across the world. Driven takes legendary base oils, such as the ones from Bradford, Pennsylvania, which comprise our GP1 line. Then, we boost that superior base oil with state-of-the-art additive packages. Driven's GP1 Nitro 70 not only provides anti-wear protection, but can shield cylinders from washout and fuel dilution caused by methanol or nitro-based fuels. Learn more about Driven Racing Oil by following us on Facebook or Instagram at Driven Racing Oil, or shop now at drivenracingoil.com.
Our block and head surfacers, they're old, they're brutes. I mean, you can get a really good finish on them if you got everything set up right. We've got a gear reduction drive on it. Never had an issue with any surface finishes. I know a lot of people have retrofitted those to run a CBN style cutter. We thought about doing that too, but
Yeah.
So far we're lucked out. We don't have to do that.
And then you were telling me that you guys are an all manual shop in
Correct.
terms of the equipment.
Correct. We are 100% manual here, no automated machines here whatsoever.
But it works for you, right? You know, you got everything.
Yeah, it takes a
set.
little longer,
Yeah.
but I can have more accurate control of what we're doing because I can stop it immediately or continue at any point, and we can make fine adjustments on the fly that you can't do on a CNC.
Yeah.
You'd have to stop the whole process, readjust everything, go back. Whereas if we were fly cutting pistons or something, I can advance the cutter out as I need or whatever the case, or change cutters right in the middle of the job and reset up, and it's only a few minutes versus stopping the whole process, retooling it, rewriting the program if you have to, and so forth. So, and then we've got plethora of heads going on right now.
Yeah.
I've got some BMW V12 heads that we're reconditioning for a client over in Round Rock.
Yeah.
So we're doing those. They've been vapor honed clean. We got to put new guides in them, do a valve job. And then I've got an RB20 here that we're going to restore a little bit. This is for a shop in Houston that we're doing a lot of work for. He's got about 20 or 25 RBs. We're getting all the stuff done for him. So
Nice.
you're okay. And then these are all our CNC VG30 heads. To date, as far as I know, we're the only company that's actually offering a CNC port for the Nissan VG30. We offer it for the 2-valve VG as well as the 4-valve. The 4 valves, we have a CNC port for all 4 castings. So there was a lot of time in development trying to get that stuff set up because every casting is different, every port's going to be different. So based on what you're trying to do with the engine, how you're trying to race it, what kind of power you're trying to make, I can pick the right casting, put the right port program in it, and have it cut. So that's more tailored to the individual, not just here's a CNC port and it comes for everybody. So we have options for that there.
Very cool.
Sort of our dungeon. This is makeshift because we've been here just over 2 years, and this is not how we wanted this, but we have our Vapor Home Technologies cabinet. This has been a huge asset to us because a lot of the parts that are on these newer engines are all aluminum.
Yeah.
And we used to paint them. It was the only way to keep them nice and clean, but I finally said, okay, had enough. Let's do this a little bit better. So we picked up a Vapor Home Technologies cabinet, and it's just been one of the better things we've ever had to use in the shop because all of our products now that when we're putting them on engines, they look better than factory.
Yeah.
So it just puts a good finish on the product, and you do a quick clear coat on it and locks it in, and it's good for many, many years.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
and then we've got a Roto Blast machine. All our cast iron blocks that come in, this is an RB that we've processed. It's in here for final deburr and plug pull before we go to final clean. But all the blocks typically run through our shop. They go through our parts washer, then they go through our sonic cleaner, and then after it's dried for a day, we'll put it in the shopping machine, and it will absolutely strip all the rust, debris, and everything off the block so we can start with a good, clean, fresh casting. Yeah. And then at that point, we can start doing our checks on housing bores and so on and so forth. And then, so this is one that's in process, and then we've got just a workbench to do all our cylinder heads with. This is an L28 project that we're doing for a client of ours. It's a big race engine that he's doing. So we've gone in and we've got copper seats that we're going to put in, but we've welded up the chambers to make a different chamber design. Okay. So we're going to have to mill all this down, and then come back through, cut the seats out, put the new seats in, and then finish the chamber work. And then we've got, this is an RB26 head that we're finishing up. This particular head, if I'm not mistaken, he's a famous drifter out there, Dan Brockett. Pretty cool guy.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so this is his personal RB that we're working on his.
Nice.
And then we've got another L28 head back there that we're doing for the big turbo build. So,
Yeah.
so just a small little
Awesome.
nook to do
Yeah.
cylinder head work on. Nothing fancy.
Hey, it works.
Yeah. Work up towards the front. We're big on lathe work. So we've got your small or your large, your medium, and then your small. And so our star lathe, right now it's down. We're doing some maintenance on it to the carriage. We got to fix the oiling system on it right now because for whatever reason now it stopped wanting to oil the carriage. So we've got our parts tray out there. We're tearing all that apart to work on it and get things going. So we've got our raw stock that we use. We need to make parts, bushings, brackets, whatever. We've got our raw stock over there. We take care of that.
Yeah.
This is all our tooling tray for the lathe here. So all our collet systems, our 4-jaw chucks, the collet lever that's back there, everything we do that we want to run a small part really quickly, we can make quick changes to this lathe, and I can either chuck it up in a collet, run a 3-jaw or 4-jaw chuck, so we can cut seats if we need to, make a custom seat. We do it all here in-house. So we try to, we've got all the lathes organized with all our bins and everything, so we're always at a arm's reach to get all our tooling that we need.
Yeah.
And then coming up here, this is probably, in my opinion, this is my favorite lathe. So this is our Elliot. It's a good British lathe. It's World War II era.
Wow.
And it absolutely is just a workhorse. The only one that I would compare this to would be a Clausing. And I think pound for pound, in my opinion, this would probably beat a Clausing.
Yeah.
It's pretty robust piece. But we use this lathe primarily to do all our lathe turning for crankshaft work. So we will get the crankshafts put on our old balancer that we've got. It's an old Limco, so it's an old strobe analog system. Again, more manual.
Yeah.
But as the imbalance is read, it will push on the indicator, and you have these knobs here. So as the crankshaft's turning, and I can send you a video of all this working if you want.
Yeah.
As the imbalance is running with the bob weights on the crank, it'll push the crankshaft out. The dial will rotate based on how much it's out.
Right.
But you run these contacts in, and every time it hits a contact, that's exactly where the imbalance is in the rotation of the crankshaft, and it'll strobe out on the machine. So we can mark where we need to take the weight out from.
Okay.
But if it's out a lot, let's say the dial is running 80 thousandths out of balance, we'll just take all the bob weights off, 180 it, put it on the lathe, turn down the OD, and then go back and forth until we get it close, and then we put it on the mill, and we do a little dimpling, and then it's done. That way we're not Swiss cheesing your counterweights and everything.
Right.
Cause a big problem. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much it on the machine side. And then we've got our cylinder hones that we do a lot of the block work on.
Sitting here.
So the gentleman's cart over there that had the billet intake manifold from
Yeah.
CPC. This is the Billet 3.1 turbo engine that we're building. So this has our Billet main cap kit that's going on there. It's got our Billet stroker crankshaft. It's got our custom rod and piston combo that's going on. Those are the blue pistons that you saw. This is the engine for this.
Oh, nice.
So right now we have this set over here because it's been deburred, but we need to put some rod bolt clearance here in the block so this thing swings so it doesn't hit anything. So that's next on the list after the 2J that's on the mill right now is fitted with billet main caps. So that's a 2J for a client. He lives down in South Texas. He's works in the oil industry. Really nice guy. He's does a lot of diesel stuff, but he's a big 2J guy. So he bought a really nice kit from Duloc Racing out in Japan. Waited kind of long time to get this kit. It's finally in, and so we've got that kit to put on for him, and then this block will go over to the cylinder hone and get honed out for his new pistons.
Nice.
So, but we do everything here. I mean, when we line bore blocks, we do it on the mill. Even when we line hone, people think, oh man, you can't line hone on the mill. You can't. You got the mandrel set, you've got enough oil, surrounding the mandrel, you can line hone, no problem. You don't have to have a huge cabinet like a lot of people think you do.
Yeah.
You can get away with doing a lot by just knowing exactly where you have to get things done.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And you mentioned honing. You got a Sun and Hone over there?
We've got two CK10s.
Yeah.
One is an older model. This is a little bit newer. I lucked out when we found this one. There was a gentleman in Canada. He ran an antique rebuilder shop. And I lucked out and he had it and he's like, man, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you give me cash right now, if you next day air it, I'll sell it to you for this price. And I couldn't get the money out of my pocket fast enough. So we lucked out from shipping from Canada to here. We lucked out and got it under $10,000.
Wow.
And this machine had 20 hours of use on it when we got it. Super low, basically low mileage as far as you're concerned. But
for sure.
We do a lot of VGs and a lot of RBs. And right now we've got an RB20 in there that we're finishing up for a client in Houston. It came in, he had it pre-machined, but I think it got around to some rust and some water. So have to rehone it a little bit, redeck it, clean it,
Yeah.
fix it up, and move on. But
Very cool.
last but not least, the assembly room. We spent a lot of time building this room out. The old shop had an assembly room, but it was probably a third the size. It was just enough for me to get in there and get an engine built.
Yeah.
And this one now it's got enough to where if I really needed to, I could build 2 engines at a time if it was the same platform that what we're doing. But put all new cabinets in. This room wasn't here, so this is a room that we actually built in the shop.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yep. So
Okay.
we did everything. So we even we put the dry erase board on there. So when we degree cams,
Yeah.
we just write on here. We can actually get a picture of what we're doing, the valve events and everything,
Yeah.
and write that down, and we can transpose that into a build book and so forth. But
That's cool.
everything's here. I mean, I've got everything outfitted. I just got finished putting all the trim back in just last weekend, actually. So
Nice,
when
yeah.
I say that it's close, this is new as new can get.
Yeah.
So, but we're happy.
That's great.
We're moving along, and you know, we've got engines to get put together all the time. So
And you got another RB26 here?
we do. That is one for a local client just north of Dallas, I believe, is where he lives. And it's a street application. He did have dart and dry liners put in it already, but we had to hone it for the new pistons that he purchased. And then has a billet main cap kit on it that we did. It's got a lease spec oil pan. We rebuilt the front vinyl drive. We do all those here. We also do a lot of RB, or I should say GTR, rear differential and front differential rebuilds. We do a lot of that here. So we've got dedicated fixtures that hold the pan on the engine stand and things like that, where we can actually access it and work on it from all angles to get the races and everything in there. But and then we've got, this is another RB that we're in the middle of building. This is RB26. So all our blocks, after they've been rotoblasted and final clean, they'll come in and we'll actually spray paint these with a cast iron coat, so it looks like a factory cast block.
Yeah.
A lot of clients are seeming to like that more than just jet black, and I do it mainly because if there's an oil leak and you can't find it, you have a good contrast that shows something that's more dull versus something that's really shiny or glossy.
Right.
So that helps that aspect of it out quite a bit.
Yeah.
But this engine, this is his build cart here.
Okay.
So when we as the engines are being built, we try to get the cart in here, so we're running in and out of the build room trying to grab the stuff, and then
So
the assembly.
That's kind of the next one up then, huh?
That's the next one up. So this is for this has very little work left to do on it. I've just got a couple old lines to make and get everything set up on it, and then he's ready to go back home.
Nice.
And then behind you is the layout for this RB. So
Okay.
this has got a shelf Sines rod that we run. We primarily use nothing but Sines rods on everything that we do. ACL bearings. That's got an HKS oil pump. It does have a SuperTech spline drive that we're going to put on this.
Yeah.
And then this is our custom CP piston. There's nothing you can say that's really bad about them. I mean, they handle everything that we do extremely well. Anything I'm looking to do, they're always open to, yeah, let's take a look at it, let's get something done. And every time we get something done, it's spot on. I never have any problems with it. So shout out to the guys at CP to get us taken care of on that. Same thing with Sines.
Yeah.
All of our custom rods that we do, it's all Sines. We sort of stick to what we like, what we know, and we don't really deviate from it. And if they have an option for us where we could have something developed, we'll keep pushing that way.
Yeah. Nice.
So there's that build. And so this is a big HKS V cam. So this was HKS in Japan actually made technically a VVT system for the intake side for an RB26. Good for guys that want a really good response rate out of the engine.
Yeah.
Making about 500 to 600 horsepower. This is a great system to run. It is a little in-depth on installation because there are a lot more checks. An engine that didn't have variable valve timing to now it does. You got to do a lot more piston to valve checks and so on and so forth. So this could be a nightmare of things if you don't do your right checks on everything. So we just got to finish wrapping the top of this one up, and then we have to have the transmission rebuilt. But here is the Ferrari. So this is featuring another CP piston application that we did with them. Redid the entire cylinder head, new guides, valve job, coated the lifters. It's got factory Ferrari cams in it, factory crank. It's all flat plane stuff. We just swapped out the pistons, and then on these, the liners are they're wet liners, so they just slip right in the block.
Okay.
And they were difficult to get out because it had the same issue as the other block back there, a lot of corrosion and so forth. So to the point that the liners were basically rusted in place. So we had to hammer those out and get those out. They were salvageable. We were able to fix them and everything, but there were 4 head studs that were stuck on the block. It took us 3 days to get them out because you didn't want to damage the block. So you're trying everything you can to get these studs out. And finally we got them out. We cleaned everything out really well. Bought brand new studs from Ferrari, and then we actually coat the studs. So another coating technique that we did is so that you can put an anti-slick release or a slick release agent coating on the base of the stud that screws into the block. So if you ever get water back in there, it won't allow the stud to corrode. So now he can constantly pull the studs out without having to have any issue. So that worked out really, really well for this application.
Yeah.
So, that's one we're finishing up here pretty soon.
And how much power do these 308s make?
Man, if it made 180 horsepower, it's cooking.
Yeah.
it's not a lot of power. It's a very small bore. It's not a very big engine, but it's more of a refined. It's a finesse thing. It's Ferrari. I mean, it's what they did. I mean, it's all about the look and the feel. You know, I'm sure it's got some pep to it. It probably does now since we've fixed a lot of stuff on it and got everything to seal up. But yeah, it's not meant to make a bunch of power. We do have another client that has, this is a 2-valve 308. So they did make a 4-valve.
Okay.
He's making like 550 horsepower to this.
Okay.
And it's turbocharged.
Yeah.
So he does pretty well on his.
Yeah,
we did the head work on his too. So it's cool on the engine, but man, vastly different how you work on this to how you work on this.
Yeah.
I mean, building engines is building engines, but there is also a degree of how things go together and how you look at things, and that by far is much different.
Yeah.
Much, much different. There's another billet intake manifold that we do for
look at
VG. That was a.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was the first one we came out with, and then we made revisions.
I remember seeing you post about that. That was a little while ago, right?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Yeah.
We were at the old shop.
Yeah.
And then I've got the newer one that's on the card out there. We made some changes to where we had to bring the plenums down a little bit and shrink the height down a little bit.
Yeah, I like the red on that.
Looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely looks good. And then you wanted to see the pistons that we had the different fuel bowl design, right? Yeah. Thought process and theory about what we were trying to do is the fuel's introduced into the chamber, really high pressures. But if I had a way of basically controlling how the spray pattern is injected into the engine, I could potentially get a better flame front and make a little more power. Right. So the idea was to take the fuel bowl and give it some directional veins in it. And a lot of people look at it and go, oh, it's a seashell. Yeah, it does. It looks like that, but yeah. But that's our crown that we do for the FA20.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so fuel will come in at this angle, and I wanted, since it does spray out a pattern, I wanted to be able to take these veins here and actually channel it to run it completely out in this fashion. Right. Because if I can get it to spread evenly, it'll burn more fuel. So this was our design that we did on that, and this was anodized in green, and then we put the skirt coating on it, and then the crown coating.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, and this is going to run a daily dry sump system that we've got for this FA20. It's also got DLC wrist pins on it, so it's we're gonna push for a four digit run on two liters.
Wow.
So
that's awesome.
That'd be pretty cool. So that's really about it. And we've developed new copper gaskets because on his application that we're doing, it's got receiver grooves on the liners that we had in the block, and then billet hoops in the cylinder head. So we run a solid copper gasket to pinch in between it. So it's like it's the same stuff that Steve Morse uses. We do the same thing here. Okay. On the import stuff, and then we work really closely with SCE to do our own cut ring gasket for the VG. So this is a steel core composite with a drop-in stainless hoop, and so this gives you the best of both worlds without having to run, solid copper gaskets and hoops. You can still run a traditional style gasket, but it's a drop-in serrated ring that bites into the head and keeps it locked in. So nice. That's really about it. Cool. We've got more RBs in. We've got differentials to build. I've got other oil pans, and this is over here. This gentleman's stuff. There's another. All that is RBs. Okay. All this. So we got all his stuff in progression right now. So we're working on. Nice. So and then we've got two built short blocks behind that are up for sale.
Like I said, awesome to see the shop in person.
And thank you.
I know that this has been.
It's been a struggle. We've gone through some hardships here moving in. Yeah. The two floods that we had up front, I don't think a lot of people knew because I really didn't advertise it, didn't want to get into it, but the whole shop was flooded, had a 1/4 inch of mud everywhere. All our parts and stuff that were on the floor, some of them were water damaged. We had to replace those. Blocks that were iron that were on the ground, we had to reprocess into the shop peen machine. I mean, it was just a continuous amount of more and more and more and more work.
Just another thing to do, right?
It's just more stuff to do that you just really don't want to have to keep going into, but sort of the struggle we had. But thankfully, when that flood happened, we had our floors done, so nothing really stuck to the floor. So we were able to, the guys came out and cleaned it all up within a day. They had a cleaning crew come out and do it, and it helped because it kept us moving, keeping us in business, because if I can't work when there's mud on the floor. Just can't do it.
Yeah.
So, but that's really about it.
Excellent.
We stay busy. We've got customers from all over the world having us build VGs. I've got a client right now that we're talking to, and he wants to build a few VGs for some dirt class stuff where they have in Australia. So it's pretty interesting to see some of that stuff go down. So we're thankful. I think we're blessed to have a good clientele over here that likes what we do and values what we're trying to do. And we're hoping that we can keep moving in that direction.
Yeah, well, like I said at the top of the video, you guys do some awesome stuff on the platforms you work on. And, it definitely shows. So
thank you.
Really cool to see it in person. Mitchell, appreciate the time.
Thanks for stopping by.
Tour.
Absolutely.
Guys, if you don't already follow Engineered Performance and the stuff that Mitchell and his team do here, definitely check them out on Facebook and on Instagram, because it's a great follow. And if you got questions for Mitchell about the shop, leave that stuff down in the comments and we'll make sure to pass it on. And as always, make sure you're checking out enginebuildermag.com for more great engine content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.